everybody. I'm your host, Michelle Lawrence, and you are watching season 2 of Black Tea, the interview series that is all about Black women in advertising, presented by Muse by Cleo. Today, I'm super excited to be here with Angela Williams. Hey, Angela.
Hey.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on. Please tell people what you do and where you're based.
Okay, I am an associate creative director at Arnold Worldwide. I am in New York City.
Okay, cool. Me too. So how did you find your way into advertising?
Oh my God, totally by accident.
I hear that a lot.
Totally by accident. I was in banking previously, if you can imagine.
Wow, I
And
can't.
even before banking, I know, right? I can't imagine, and I lived it. But even before banking, I wanted to be an attorney of all things. But I got into banking, and I was an executive there, and I loved it for a while. So I can't even say I hated my job and I needed a change. I loved it for a long time. But then I was like, I really didn't grow when I was younger. I really didn't say to myself, ooh, I can't wait till I grow up to be a banker. I had so many other dreams about creating stuff, and I didn't know what it was called. I didn't even know. I knew that there were like commercials and things on TV, but I didn't know that there was a such thing. It's like writing scripts for commercials or writing for I was just so in the dark about the creative world and the entertainment world. But then one day I said, I need to do what I've always wanted to do. And I had a friend who is a copywriter for Nike basketball. And so he kind of put me on to, okay, this is what I do. Have you ever seen Mad Men? Watch it. This is kind of the construct of, advertising. And when I saw all of that, I did the research. I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. So I put in my letter of resignation. My friends were like, are you crazy? And I took the plunge. I resigned from corporate America after being there for some years, went to portfolio school, and started a whole career in advertising. And best decision that I ever made, best decision. So I kind of fell into it, but I absolutely love it. I feel so honored to create stuff for a living. I get to play for a living. A lot of people can't say that. So yeah, love it.
It's nice. I'm energized by your kind of your zest for it and how it feels like a playground to you. I think that while that may be a reason that a lot of people get into advertising, at least on the creative side, it fades fast. It can fade fast. So it's nice to be reminded of, as far as jobs go, we are kind of playing around here. I used to be a teacher before I got into advertising. So it's still not quite corporate America. Like it was a different ecosystem altogether.
Yeah.
So I never really worked in an office with a cubicle and you know what I mean? Or just, I didn't have that experience.
Well, I liked it because there was a very strong affinity towards leadership. Like whenever you got a promotion, you had to go through a supervisory curriculum. You had to go through a managerial curriculum when you were a manager. You had to go through a leadership and executive curriculum. So there was this standard of by the time you become an executive, you have some executive poise, you know how to manage people, you know how to handle difficult conversations. Mm-hmm. So there were these stepping stones that kind of gave you, or gave me, I can't speak for everyone, kind of this confidence to know that, okay, I can handle the situation because I've been prepared on that end. Okay. In the creative industry, you don't have that. In the creative industry, you have people who are enormously creative, but who knows? Maybe they know how to manage people. Maybe they don't. Maybe they know how to be a great leader and step back and so let, true. And maybe, they don't, because just because you're a good player doesn't mean you'll make a great coach. So right. At least in corporate America, they were like, okay, we're going to make you a great coach. These are the things that you have to do. So by the time you were managing people, you weren't driving them out of the business because you didn't know how to manage them.
That is a really strong point. I never thought of it that way, but so much of our experience is made up by our relationship with managers and
Absolutely.
they're either growing you or they're stifling you or they're, empowering you or they're not. And so that is really key, because I know, that's the type of creative leader that I strive to be. I'm sure you do too. And it's fascinating to think that, there's industries where people get, there's an intense focus on that aspect of the job, which is really fascinating. Well, I'm glad that you're in the industry now and you can bring some of that poise and leadership skill into a creative role. So that's so dope. Let's talk about
Right.
work. Let's talk about some of the work that what's a project or two that you're most passionate about, most proud of, that you've achieved over your career?
Gosh, I had a canned answer. But
Okay.
when I was looking at my book, I was like, the one that I'm most proud of is the one that never got made.
Okay.
That sounds funny, but it is so true. And there's a little bit of a story behind it. So I was at a particular agency, and my partner and I, who's also a woman, we would always get these brands, and nothing wrong with CPG brands, but we would always get these brands like they're family brands, or these are brands that women normally gravitate towards. We weren't getting the like spirits brands or the
Yeah.
sportswear brands. And so there was an opportunity to pitch for a sportswear brand, but we weren't asked to pitch. And I thought it was funny because, we were pulling out some great work. ECDs all the time would say, this is the best work on the board. So we weren't asked to pitch. So my partner didn't want to pitch it because we were so busy, but I was like, I have this idea. I think that it's going to be a great idea.
Mhm.
So it was Mother's Day weekend. I will never forget it. I stayed up all night and I wrote it. I art directed it. I comped everything. And I went to the agency at like 6:30 in the morning and I pinned it up on what we call the pitch board. You comp stuff, you put it on the board. The ECDs will walk around and say, it's good, it's not, do this, do that.
Yeah.
So I put it on the board, and then I left the agency because I was scared. I was like, oh my God, should I be doing this? But I came back at around 9:30. The agency doesn't really come alive until 10 a.m. anyway. So, I'm there, I'm like nervous. They're going to the board, and the CCO at the time sent out a mass email and said, whose work is this? He took a picture and says, whose work is this? Because normally when you put your work on the board, you have to put your name, the team's name on there and everything. I didn't put my name on it or anything. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be fired. So I didn't respond to the email. I went to his office instead. And obviously he's not there. He's at the board. But I was like hoping that I can get fired in private. So he sent out another email, and I said, fine. I sent him an email and said, the work is mine. Am I in trouble? And he said, absolutely not. Come over to the board and like take us through your thinking. So he was standing like near the board, and I'm coming around the corner. And before I could get around the corner, people are applauding. And I kid you not, I will give you the CCO's name at the end of this so you can verify this story. But
I
people were
believe
like,
you. What is that? I don't need you to do that.
people were applauding until they saw who I was, until they saw that it was me.
Stop.
No, I'm so serious, Michelle. So the ECDs that were in charge of the campaign, they were like, you did this? And I think I was a little bit offended because I'm like, we've been putting good work
Right.
consistently, and not by my own account, but by theirs. And I was like, yeah, I did this. And so, they were like, this is the best work on the board, but we can't present it to client because we're 4 days out. It was like 4 days out for the pitch. It was a Monday. They were presenting on a Thursday. And that's when I kind of got deflated and realized that sometimes the best work doesn't make it to the board. It doesn't make it to the client. But I have to say that that's, to me, when I was writing it and creating it, how you're creative and you feel, okay, this is good. But
Yes.
then you feel like, oh, this is great. Like,
Yeah.
you can't believe it came from you. That was the kind of feeling that I got. But yeah, it didn't get to the client. It didn't get made, but I say by far that was the best work that I've done.
Ugh, the world will
And I
never
should
know.
say, yes, and I should mention from then on, we were all required to put our name on our work.
That is just, I mean, there are so many moments of like, wow, really? In that story, like 4 days is a lot of time in pitch days. Like,
Yeah.
get that shit, get it into the deck. What are we doing? Like, the best work is what should go live. But you know what? Um, you made it, and that's something to be proud of. And hopefully you can take that idea with you and use it somewhere where people are willing to put in the work, and hear you. But that is so wild. I can't believe they stopped clapping when they saw you were like, what is that? Huh? Oh my
It
God.
was so surreal. But I think the most important part of that story though is I I firmly think that there should be blind pitches. Like if you're
Yeah,
pitching, why should your name be on the work? I think people
right.
should judge it objectively. And then
Mhm.
if it's chosen, hey, this idea won, send that to the agency. And then whomever created it, they come forward and they work on it. But
Right.
to me, I really
British
feel
Bake
like
Off
that.
style. I think that's how it should be
Yeah.
as well. Because otherwise you get this kind of, agencies can do this kind of, they have their favorites. They have their favorite creative boys. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I will say boys because of my experience, it's typically what it's been. Like these are the people who are going to figure it out for us, and it's like, well, if that's who you're putting your energy into and your resources into, and that's who you're giving the shots to, then sure. But everybody is in the room because they have a reason to be,
Yeah.
or in the agency because they deserve to get those looks. So I think that is tragic. And it's one of the reasons why we do this show. It's we don't hear story if we don't hear stories like these. People will think there's no issue.
Right.
It's not just enough to have Black women in the door. Yes, we need to do that, but once they're in there, are you giving them looks? Are you giving them shots? Are you giving them opportunities to work on the real creative stuff? Or are they there to kind of hold it down for you and check boxes for you or make sure everything is running smoothly? Like, how administrative are you pushing your creatives to be when you don't believe in their creativity? And so that's something that I would just challenge creative leaders across the industry to really think about. How are you really including your diverse talent once you bring them on?
Oh, that's such a great point.
You know,
Such a great point.
but you've lived it. Okay, so this is an interesting question for you, since you kind of spent some time in the corporate world. You spent some time in the health and wellness aspect of advertising as well, and now you're back on the consumer side. But if you had to work in another department within advertising besides creative, what would it be and why?
That's such a great question. I would love to work in small business or strategy. Either one of those.
Okay.
Small business, new business, I meant to
New
say.
business. I was gonna ask
Um,
what department that was. I was like, what, Arnold has a small business department? That's cool.
no, it does not.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So new business or strategy. I love strategy because I love like information. Like even when our planning team or strategy team gives us insights, to kind of jumpstart thinking, I
Yeah.
always go search for my own because I use those. But if it's not intuitive enough, if I think it's not intuitive enough, or if it's something that I would have thought of, I feel like it's not deep enough yet. Like I want that like one thing that resonates across ethnicity, across gender, that's like so powerful and visceral that no matter what you say after that, it's going to touch people.
Yeah.
So I would love to like get my hands in the data and the research more than I do now, to give creatives, a lot more to talk about, a lot more to work from.
Yeah.
Just new business, just because I'm competitive. I'm like, I'm gonna win every single time. What can we do to do it?
Were you into sports growing up? Where did that competitive edge come from, you think?
I was a cheerleader, and that is a
Oh,
sport.
cutthroat. I know. It's cutthroat, right?
It's cutthroat. So I was a collegiate cheerleader as well. So I don't know. See, I think the competitive nature comes from, so I am an identical triplet,
Get
and
out
we
of
were
here.
always,
That's cool.
we were always competing for like our own attention, our own identity, like making our way on our own because we spent so much time, and we still do today, so much time together. And so we would always competitively like try and one up each other,
Yeah.
all in the most loving way, obviously. But I think that's where it comes from. When I was growing up, that was like the start of my competitive nature. And then, sports, to your point, kind of built that, elevated that.
Yeah. That's really cool. I want to talk a little bit about the Lived Inspired podcast you host. What's it about, and what do you hold dear about it?
I love it. And it started when I moved to New York because I'm originally from Chicago.
Okay.
And everybody in Chicago thought New York was going to eat me alive. So I started to do like these daily, like, they're not even podcasts, like highlights on Instagram about my time on the subway, trying to find a freaking apartment,
Yeah.
trying to navigate my way around the city. And so people were like, we want to hear more. But then I decided I didn't want it to be about me complaining all the time about I can't navigate the subway. I wanted to like inspire people to either move here or to chase their dreams because I had just like resigned and
Yeah.
went into advertising. And so that's what I did. I turned it around and kind of made it a show about inspiration, what inspires me, and then like give people the places and the people and where to find things. That they felt like inspired them. So it's a 5 minute, if you could believe it, it's
Oh,
only
nice.
5 minutes. So it's like 5 minutes inspo, I call it, on the go. And I like interview people that inspire me, go places that inspire me, edit it to 5 minutes, and then ship it out every week. So I absolutely love it because it forces me to like go places, experience new things, talk to new people,
Yeah.
and then have the discipline to like do all the editing myself. So I
I
love it.
mean, the discipline and the time, girl.
Abs-
Wow. Are there any Black-owned products or just businesses that you are really loving these days that you'd want to shout out?
Yeah, so I love the Malik El Shabazz market in Harlem. I get my oils and shea butter, fabrics, jewelry, everything from there. So I'll shout them out. They're on 116th and Malcolm X Boulevard. That's my Chicago address giving. I know I'm
Okay.
supposed to say 116th and the number street or whatever, but
Girl, I don't know. I haven't even lived in New York a year, so I don't know what the rules are. You sound good to me. I'm just excited because that's the first, I think, brick and mortar um, recommendation that I've heard of when I ask this question. People
yeah.
usually like, oh, I go online at this place or this business or other, but you're like, no, there's a marketplace. You can go there in Harlem, which I love that because you know what? I'm going to go.
Yes, you should. It's, oh my God, it's everything.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Angela. It's been so interesting to hear your story. You kind of bury a couple of leads. Like I feel like as we go on, like there's a little surprise over here, a surprise over there in your story. But I love to hear it. And I can't wait to see what you do next. Hopefully, you're in an environment where folks are ready to hear you and let you do your creative thing. And we're going to be seeing some awesome work coming out of you. So I can't wait.
Thank you for having me. This was a great conversation. I'm going to be looking out for more episodes that I'm not in, obviously.
Yeah. And you know what? All of you out there watching, please also be looking up more episodes. Go to musebycleo.com/black tea and check out everybody that we've spoken to so far. Make sure you follow us on Instagram so you can know about the new episodes as they come out as well at Sip Black Tea. And we will see y'all on the next one. Bye.